KISD's first online training module dedicated to the collaboration with and training of our KISD Ministerial Alliance members. The voice you're listening to right now is that of Micah Rossi. That's me. I'm a licensed specialist in school psychology and have been providing psych services to regular and special ed populations here in KISD for nearly 7 years, providing organization and training regarding the unique collaboration of local ministers with our currently trained KISD crisis response staff, which includes school counselors, is one of the many hats I wear as a student services professional here in Kerrville. The purpose of this online training is twofold. Firstly, it is meant to be a crisis response review resource for those ministers who've already been through our live trainings. Secondly, it is meant to be an initial training resource when paired with the end-of-course online exams for new or prospective Ministerial Alliance Crisis Response Team members. Now, this next part is important. If you as a minister intend to participate as an active member in our KISD Crisis Response Team, you will be required to attend at least one live follow-up training. The purpose of this live training is to briefly review information and verify understanding of content and practical application. Upon the completion of your one-time live training, you will then be a trained member of our crisis response team and ready to be deployed in the event of a crisis. Currently trained members of our KISD crisis response team are additionally required to review information contained in these online trainings and attend at least one live training to keep up with current crisis response best practices. When considering school-based crisis intervention, the first question we pose to ourselves may seem obvious. How do we define school-based crisis intervention? I found several definitions of this practice throughout my research. The UCLA School Mental Health Project seemed to have the most concise and relevant definition as a range of responses schools can plan and implement in response to crisis events and reactions. As UCLA's explanation suggests, when we speak of crisis intervention, we are really responding. Thus, this training does not focus on pre-crisis prevention, although, as you will see, prevention is an important component of responding effectively to students amid a crisis. Rather, the content of this training emphasizes the incorporation of a previously absent but very important component of our range of responses we engage in as a school district. Furthermore, when we consider the statement, "Schools can plan," we infer that in order to have a plan, it is essential to have a purpose. No different than a high school teacher educating a class of future mathematicians, as crisis responders we must always heed our purpose, keeping it at the forefront of our minds and allowing it to keep us grounded during response. Student needs refers to the range of responses mentioned by our West Coast friends. That math teacher must be keenly aware of their student needs on both the group and individual level, accounting for differences in abilities, learning styles, and ambitions. As crisis responders, assessment of student needs is what guides the interventions we implement both on a group and individual basis. As you have likely inferred, the previous absent but important component KISD Crisis Response Protocol is missing is the collaboration with and inclusion of our ministerial support system. While putting this training together, it occurred to me that the members of our Ministerial Alliance and we as educators share some profound common threads. We both place the utmost importance on meeting students' needs both physically and mentally, and we both are constantly seeking to become involved with students in positive ways so that we may assist in maximizing their success within both the home and school environments. Upon thinking back to the many crisis response situations I've participated in over the years, I can hardly reference a single scenario where at least a few students did not reference the topic of spirituality or religion during crisis response discussion. Interestingly, the Red Cross conducted a post-9/11 study where they gathered information on ways those affected by the events on 9/11 coped. Of those they interviewed, 59% said that they would most likely or were at least likely to turn to a religious or spiritual leader as a support system. They additionally found that 94% of Americans that they interviewed believe in God or a higher power, and that 43 to 60% of individuals with emotional problems in general turn first to religious leaders rather than a counselor or psychologist. My personal experiences, together with these numbers, suggest that our students in KISD would benefit substantially from the presence of trained youth ministers when dealing with the crisis situation. We We have already defined school-based crisis intervention. Now let us briefly examine a comprehensive definition of pastoral crisis intervention. Everly suggests that it's the functional integration of any and all religious, spiritual, and pastoral resources with the assessment and intervention technologies typically thought of as crisis intervention. As you can see, according to Everly, we are simply integrating religious, spiritual, and pastoral resources within our current crisis intervention models. In the case of Kerrville ISD, our goal is to reasonably incorporate these resources, i.e. our KISD Ministerial Alliance members, into our current crisis response and intervention framework. This flowchart represents KISD's current crisis response communication system. Beginning with the yellow box at the top, once our central office administrators have received news of a crisis that will likely affect the youth in our schools, they immediately contact a variety of relevant district leaders and campus principals. Starting from the left, the campus principals are responsible for contacting their on-campus crisis response team members, including school counselors and the district LSSP when appropriate. Directors, contacted by central office administration, may communicate with their staffs depending on the crisis that has occurred and whether or not they should be involved. Micah Rossi, the LSSP, that's me, will also be contacted by central office staff to discuss the possible role of this very Ministerial Alliance crisis response team's participation in the event. Finally, central office will contact our public relations specialist directly. Our current public relations specialist is Jamie Fales. This is especially important to note, as our public relations specialist is our first and foremost resource for engaging the media during crisis events. It is important that we, as educators and crisis responders, do not seek to engage the local media or any media regarding our role in the response to a crisis situation. Further into the training, you will have the opportunity to view a more in-depth module that focuses on the media aspect of crisis response events. As a school district, we've identified three primary phases of pastoral crisis intervention. The first is most obviously preparedness, and it underlies the following phases. It is the content training and mental preparation required to implement the second phase, known as the response phase. The purpose of this online training module is to provide Ministerial Alliance crisis responders with an overview of the skill set necessary for and the primary components of our response phase.